Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Committee of Adjustment and Planning Committee meeting for the Municipality of Tweed. We'll call the meeting to order. Our first order of business will be the land acknowledgement. The Municipality of Tweed recognizes that our work takes place on traditional Indigenous territories, including the Huron-Wendat, the Anishinaabe, and the Haudenosaunee peoples. We recognize and respect the history, languages, cultures of the First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and all Indigenous peoples whose presence continues to enrich our communities. We'll introduce the committee, the staff, the guests that are here with us. Is there anybody zooming in to participate? No? Okay. Lucas, could we start with you, please?
Lucas Wales, Deputy Clerk, Zoning Administrator.
Lori Crowling, clerk.
Your interim CAO.
Jim Peterson, committee member.
Jack Robinson.
Phyllis Savoy,
Roxanne Bailey.
you have to turn your mics on. And the two gentlemen from the county joining us, if you would.
Jason Budd, Senior Planner from Hastings County.
Gib Garrett, planner with Hastings County.
Thank you. Counselor Valakat is absent. We'll mark that. Okay. The agenda was distributed to the committee. Could I have a mover and a seconder for the agenda as presented? Moved by Roxanne, seconded by Jim. All those in favor? The agenda has been set. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest or anything related? Anyone? No? None. The adoption of the minutes from the last meeting, they're included in the package. So be it resolved that the minutes of September 7th of the Committee Adjustment and Planning be adopted as presented. A mover and a seconder for those minutes. Jack, seconded by Roxanne. Errors, omissions, comments, nothing. All those in favor? The minutes are accepted. Okay. Severance applications. So item number 6.1, severance application B104/24, applicants Douglas Country. Wait, what am I doing here? Sorry, wrong agenda. And I said September 27th. It should have been October 25th. Sorry, wrong page. Too much paper. Do we have to redo the motion? We just correct it with consensus of the committee? Okay. Yeah, when I read it, I thought it was odd, but okay, so too much paper. Okay, severance applications B149/24. Applicants Philip and Teresa Wicklum, their authorized agent Watson Land Surveyors Limited. The location of the property is part of lots 25 and 26, concession 1, Township of Hungerford. The proposal of the applicant is to sever one large parcel of land to create a new rural lot abutting Tyner Road. The total area of the subject property is approximately 79.5 hectares in area. The proposed new lot would be approximately 38.8 hectares in area with approximately 299.5 meters of road frontage on Hogsback Road, 112 meters of frontage, 1,212 meters of frontage on Tyner Road with 305.6 meters of frontage on Moneymore Road. The retained parcel would be approximately 40.7 hectares in area with approximately 305.5 meters of frontage on Moneymore Road and 299.6 meters of frontage on Hogsback Road. Motion to put severance application forward, moved by Jim, seconded by Jack. Okay, discussion from the committee. Anybody? Jim, do you have anything?
The only question I have you brought it up before, is the lies in the potential karst area. I think in this case, there's no indication from just looking at the land, if there's any hazards there. But I thought the plan, but what would elevate that to the next level? Is 20 conservation measure, decide whether or not you need additional effects on that site?
Through the chair, the application is circulated to the Conservation Authority, and they did provide some preliminary comment that is on page 2 of the preliminary report, which states that superficial evidence of karst is not identified on either severed or retained lots. But if evidence of karst is discovered during future construction excavation on the site, a geotechnical study may be required or alternate building site would be directed by the Conservation Authority.
Larry, I think that's a reasonable approach. I've seen other times when they have been asked to have people go in and do some digging in advance. It's nice if they take a look at the site and have that whole indication there. That's a reasonable way to approach it. It's a low cost way to approach it, I think. Through the chair.
Agree.
I think the last couple we had at the time that they went for building permits too, was when they did the testing, and there were a couple where people had to actually change the footprint of their buildings based on. Jack,
No, no problem.
Roxanne? Okay, being nothing further, and the information is included in the package. So the motion then, the conditions would be that all realty taxes are paid in full. Parkland fee is paid in the amount of $750 for the new lot. Road widening as required along the severed lot to conform to 33 feet from the center line of the traveled roadway, both Moneymore Road, Tyner Road, and Hogsback Road. And that the public works manager is satisfied with the safe site entrance on the severed lot with the roadside ditching and drainage. That would be the conditions with the motion. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Yeah.
Motion's carried. Severance application B625, the applicant Summer Baker. The location of the property is 1820 Moneymore Road. The applicant is proposing to sever an approximate 3.8 acre lot consisting of the existing single detached dwelling with approximately 87 meters of frontage on Moneymore Road. The proposed retained lot will be approximately 76 acres in size with 150 meters of frontage containing the existing derelict barn and sheds. The applicant is proposing to develop the retained parcel with a single detached dwelling. Have a mover, Roxanne, seconded by Jim for discussion. Go ahead, anyone? Roxanne?
The only thing I have is site entrance. Safe site entrances, because I believe it's right on the Boulders Hills.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't understand where the driveway was.
We could, yeah, why not? Let the record note that Counselor Valicat has joined us. It would be a condition
Yeah.
that safe site entrance would be there.
Until they were coming out of that. Somebody would see them, depending on where they're. Driveway.
Jim?
The only question I have on this one is with regard to the deer yard, like I know those old mapping lines that were put on there probably 50 years ago. With the landowner, like it appears that they've done a short report or something, with the landowner be required to incur cost. Part of that report for deer yard.
Yes, through the chair, in the official plan, there are layers that identify where habitat, specifically stratum 1 and stratum 2 for deer habitat. When property is within an identified area, they're required to do that assessment to determine what, if any, negative impacts would be on the actual habitat for the development. So we require that assessment to be completed, and that identifies in this particular case that there's no anticipated negative impacts for the development.
Yeah, and I can understand why I said it, but I would take issue with the costing the landowner money because those deer yards, they're so nebulous, like they change. I can appreciate that they're put on there many years ago. And I would add that, landowner could technically go back there and remove 10 acres of forest and have any permitting whatsoever. You can alter the landscape, but that's through client permission, so we're asking them to go through the cost for this. And Jack would know as well, like anybody here, when the deer yard changed so much in the last 50 years, the way the deer flew, and I think the impact of having an added severing lot there, like I know what the old man on ours that has those maps on the lines, and they just come out and say, yes, it's fine, no issue, but I don't know what the cost would be for that, but I have a big issue with adding costs for reasons like that. But I mean, there's clearly no issue with adding a home or whatever. You're not really changing the landscape per se. You're adding one big home to 100 acres of land or 5 in the same. So I was just surprised that they have to do a study to do that in this case.
Do we know what the cost of that is? Or does it depend on the size of the property?
Yeah, each one is different depending on who they retain to do the work, but yeah, I have no idea what the cost of that assessment would have been.
Yeah, it's just adding cost, we're kind of going through a time where we're trying to reduce the cost, the development of for individuals like this. And that to me, like, I'm a deer hunter, I work for the MNR, I know those lines really, they're a line that was jotted down there. Go based on area survey, and those have changed so much over time. But, I think they're really, they're not really relevant, especially with that, that $2,000 to $3,000 cost. I think that's just a reason to think about it. I'm not sure how you get by.
We can't here in this process, but that doesn't mean that it isn't something that at another meeting, we could have a discussion about and find out how to help mitigate that. So it's something, can we put that on an agenda for, we could talk about it under staff updates?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, all right. Jack,
No problem.
Roxanne, nothing?
I'm just gonna point out that in 27 years of driving down that road, I've seen deer once in that field.
Okay, well,
I still look though. I still look right where I saw the one time. The one time I still looked and see if I see any other ones.
relocation. Okay, so then the motion before the committee, the discussion, it would be resolved that the committee would recommend to council that we would grant consent to application B 625 with the following conditions. All realty taxes are paid in full. Parkland fee is paid in the amount of $750 for the new lot. Road widening as required along the severed lot to conform to 33 feet from the center line of the traveled roadway being Moneymore Road. Public Works Manager satisfied with the safe site entrance on the severed lot with the roadside ditching and drainage and the rezoning of the severed lands from rural RU to rural residential RR. The motion's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Carried. Those applications will go forward to council. When's the next council meeting, Lucas? Just
March 11th.
March 11th. So they'll go forward March 11th. The applicants will be notified. Okay. Item number 7, items for consideration for planning committee 7.1, the zoning bylaw amendment review. And the discussion involves around a bylaw to amend the comprehensive zoning bylaw 2012-30 as amended. So, okay, Councillor Valaket has that. Okay. So the motion would read, whereas bylaw number 2012-30 as amended is the comprehensive zoning bylaw governing the lands located within the corporation of the municipality of Tweed. And whereas council of the corporation and municipality of Tweed deems it appropriate to amend bylaw 2012-30. And whereas authority is granted under section 34 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990 CP 13 as amended. Now therefore the council of the corporation and municipality of Tweed enacts as follows. And the bylaw is before the committee for discussion. Lucas,
Do an introduction here?
yes,
For sure.
go ahead.
Okay, no, it's good to be back and I've got a microphone and a podium today, so that's trouble, I'm sure. So thank you to Gib and Jason for being here with us today. I'm just going to start with kind of a brief overview of how we got to today and some of the work that we've done to get to this point. There's been a lot done over the last 18 months in terms of zoning bylaw amendments during this term of council. And I think it's important to highlight some of those changes that we've been making and that we continue to make as we've got here today. So as you might remember, we started in January of 2024 when council hosted a developers forum, and we took a look at some of the different concerns, I guess, and benefits that Tweed has as a community, and got some feedback from them. And we kind of, from that developers forum, and Jason was here that day, I believe Gib was here as well, kind of charted a path forward on what we can do to take a look at areas where we can enhance our zoning bylaw to meet the needs in the future. So that's sort of what, high level, what came out of that developers forum back in January of 2024. So council shortly after that passed a motion. There was a notice of motion from the deputy mayor asking council to explore increasing density, particularly in urban areas of our community. So that motion was there on the table, but we did have some other priorities before we got to that, that needed to be taken care of, some low-hanging fruit, if you will. We were in the middle of our administrative update to bring our zoning bylaw into compliance with the official plan. And that was a big project, and Jason was a huge part in that. So thank you, Jason, for your incredible support and hosting our public meeting and our open house with us. Appreciate that. So that was passed in the summer last year. And one of the big things that came out of the administrative update was bringing not just into compliance with the official plan, but the Planning Act amendments that have continuously been happening. Really defining and nailing down additional dwelling unit options for folks, and kind of setting out some more specific terms for where they can be located, and the availability of different housing options for people living in our community. We've seen people take advantage of second dwelling units. We've seen a few additional dwelling units. Tweed leads the way in Hastings County and in development and housing starts, and we want to continue to maintain those numbers as we move forward. So that's been important, and it's been a good tool to have for the municipality of Tweed and for our residents. The next thing that we sort of took a look back at was parking mandates. Council reduced parking mandates from 950. If your unit was under 958 square feet, you could have one parking space as opposed to two. This seems like a small change, but when you're getting into tribes and fourplexes and some multi-res development, it does make a huge impact on the development footprint and allows folks to maximize space and maybe even allow for the addition of one or two extra units. And that's more housing and more homes for families in our community. So we have seen some of our local builders take advantage of that already. And there's more in the pipeline where we'll be applying the one parking space provision moving forward. And finally, before we get to what we're talking to today, in the fall, mobile home amendment to allow for mobile homes as a structure type in the municipality. We've had some inquiries about that. I don't know if we've had anyone specifically take an opportunity of that, but it's another way that council has provided an outlet for folks to look at different housing options that are a little bit more affordable. And yeah. So that, circling all the way back to the original motion from a year ago, we've crossed off some of the things that were addressed in that motion, but the largest part of that motion was looking at side yards, front yards, lot coverages, and lot areas as well. And we have some documents here today that staff have taken a look at, and that we've taken a look at with Jason and Gib as well, to try to come up with what might work for Tweed moving forward. So part of that process, I'll just kind of highlight what we've done and what Jason and Gib have done in large part to get us to this discussion today. So the numbers that you're seeing here are kind of a combination of things. Late last fall, Jason and Gib together started putting together some spreadsheets comparing Belleville, Kingston, Quinte West, and I believe every municipality in Hastings County in terms of some of the priority areas that we wanted to look at. And those priority areas were R1, R2, multi-res, and R1, R2, multi-res. Was there another zone we looked at? Oh, we took a look at some of the rural zones, but we decided to, because of private services mostly, decided to just kind of leave that out of the picture for now, looking at hamlets and urban areas. So we took the comparables there that Jason and Gib put together. So thank you again to them for putting that together. That was a lot of work, getting that into one nice encapsulated spreadsheet. And you do have those. You have the county ones in front of you. I believe you have the urban ones digitally. That was sent out a couple of times previously. So hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at those. Myself and Hannah, our planning assistant, sat down early this year and kind of poured over what this might look like for the municipality of Tweed based on what other communities in Hastings County were doing. And us going from, just my own experience, and then Hannah being new to planning, taking a look at kind of a fresh perspective on what might work and what might not work. And in terms of things that I might not even be thinking about from the planning side of things. We came up with some numbers. And then we sat down with Jason and Gibb earlier this month, and we had a discussion about where their head was at versus where our head was at. And at the end of that, we came up with some numbers, and those numbers are reflected in the draft sample bylaw that will I think Gibb and Jason collaboratively worked on and prepared together. So I think there's an opportunity today to have a discussion comparatively to other municipalities, to what's being proposed, ask some questions of Jason and Gibb, limit your questions to me. And yeah, I think really the point here and the goal here was increased urban density. We have roughly 25 infill lots in the village, give or take. The ability to change some of these setbacks, make a few tweaks, may grow that number in the sense that it may unlock the door to some severances. It may unlock the door to some additional dwelling units. It may just help us allow that infill number to grow a little bit more. The other night, if anyone was watching council, our CAO gave a presentation on asset management planning, and he talked about good growth. I don't know if you want to share anything, Kelly, on some of those good growth topics in relation to this project.
Thank you, Lucas. Old retired planner here. No, I think the issue when we're looking at growth and the implications for our operating budgets and capital budgets, important to think about, densification as being the best form of growth for a municipality. An infill lot on a fully serviced street is far more valuable to the municipality than 10 2-acre lots on a new road that requires new services. And I applaud Lucas and the county team for their foresight. It's important to be ahead of these issues, and the province is pushing us in that direction in many of their policy changes, and fully supportive of good growth that will support the municipality, and it also supports our local businesses. People living locally, shop locally, and keep schools open, keep churches open, keep curling rinks where I may or may not have had a few beer over the years. Those kinds of services are kept local by good densification and good growth. So thank you very much.
I think Kelly just hit the nail on the head for everything else that I wanted to talk about in terms of efficient use of infrastructure and sustainability in the community.
Especially the beer at the
Yeah, and especially the beer at the
curling
curling club. Yes. Been known to dabble. So with all that in the background and why we're here and what we've done and why we're taking a look at this, I'll kind of open the floor up to the committee. I'm sure you guys have had a chance over the last month to review some of these things, and particularly over the last week with the samples and the draft bylaw. So we can get into a bit of a discussion about some of these potential amendments now.
Any members? Jim, you want to start?
Well, just start with one question. I have a few questions, but just in terms of how they're described, like a dwelling unit with a semi-attached dwelling on municipal services. So with that, like timber shops buildings up there, the 9-unit roll, is that would fall under? Is that a semi-detached dwelling? That's what we're down to, like.
Oh, no, so that would fall under, I think that particular lot has a special zoning on it, but it is under the, I believe it's under the multi-residential zone. Yeah. And, sorry, Jim.
This one here, we're looking at like going out the minimum lot under 9 meters. So. Okay, so on those ones there, we have the lot from 6 meters for the. So that's what it would be defined as up there too, or townhouse. We want the Tim and Fisher.
Yes, that's what they're
That's
selling.
what they're marketing.
They're being marketed as townhouse.
Yeah, so we can go down as low as 6 meters of frontage on a unit like that.
You got my sheet in front of you.
That's what it says.
You want to speak to?
Standard 6 meters for a townhouse, an individual townhouse.
Do you want to go through all your questions and?
Oh, you gotta go ahead, take that.
Okay, Jack?
No, I think this is good for a number of reasons, like the gentleman that was in wanted to buy or do a sixplex up there by the funeral home on a single lot. But with this here, he couldn't do that. This lot's not big enough.
Yeah, we've seen some applications over the last few years where there's had to been a few tweaks, and certainly all these amendments aren't going to solve every particular issue that arises. Every development is a little bit different, but I think certainly councils recognize that, and I think staff have kind of incorporated that in our comparisons, and we've taken a look at. I know when Hannah and I sat down and did a review, we had the GIS available to us, and we kind of use the measurement tool, and it is just a tabletop exercise. It's not accurate. We're just trying to piece together what might work. What could lot coverage look like? Jason and Gib have some samples there of, what the new amendments, the implications, what they would look like physically on a lot. So that's all been, Jack, taken into account. Firsthand experience and then also the comparables.
One of the bigger issues for the committee have been setbacks. Generally, in most applications, those have been the things that we've had to look at the most. So and you're saying that's been a primary look, is setbacks and how it would best be applied. Because clearly, whether they're 25 infill lots or not, they're not all the same shape and size, which
Correct.
we've come across. Like we've got long ones, skinny ones, strange ones, and trying to fit them in.
There's also some folks that have, for lack of a better term, what you call a double lot,
Yeah,
where it may not meet the requirements of the current zoning bylaw.
right.
But with some of these amendments, looking
That-
at frontage and areas,
yeah.
perhaps it does unlock that, and our infill potential does grow. And it creates value for our existing residents if they're able to sever a piece of land. And the ultimate goal, obviously, is to create more housing for folks in our community.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you guys are looking at it, the little tweaks and stuff, again, with the parking and, everything that should, things need to, change and stuff like that. It can't stay, So yeah, no, the brings, people to the area, even just workers building these, they
Yeah.
eat here, they shop here, daily and stuff like that. So yeah, it's.
Peter?
Yeah, so not only battery free here and battery free here, so I'll just raise my voice. So this is definitely, I like what you've done here. This is definitely, it's okay, Lucas. This is definitely a direction that council wants to move in, again, create good space for people and good opportunity for things to help and grow. So I'm certainly in favor of what I've seen there. Thank you.
I think it's important for us to highlight too, when we took a look at this.
Is your mic on?
Yeah, it's green. Yep, I hope so. The speaker did blow there, so
Okay.
yeah. When we took a look at our comparables, we looked at both Hastings County and some urban areas and tried to have a blend of both. One of the important things was that one of the considerations is that we still keep the rural nature of our community in place. I think when we were looking at some of these, we didn't want to over densify, particularly taking note of our infrastructure and capacities that we have. So I think there's a nice balance here between the setbacks that other municipalities have in the county and trying to incorporate some urban opportunities too. So it's been a benefit to take a look at both. I don't know if
Sure, if I can jump in through the chair. What we were trying to do as well is be sensitive to the fact that this is a community that doesn't have transit, so we weren't looking at densification in what you would see in like downtown Kingston or in a more urban area, but trying to find that balance where it'd be more kind of suburban approach. And so you'd see that we'd be able to accommodate parking on all of the lots and at the same time try and maximize utility of the lot by increasing the lot coverage and narrowing lots so that you could have more units without kind of making it look like you'd have this kind of cookie cutter type situation. So I think that if the best example really is the change in the R1, if you look at the new R1, which is a 12-meter frontage versus the existing R1, which is I think 18 meters of frontage. And you can see that you can still build a house basically the same size as what's permitted today and you have a lot of wasted space in the existing R1, whereas you still have ample amenity area in the rear yard and able to still accommodate a decent sized house. So that was kind of the direction that we were going with this, to trying to make sure that you still had some amenity area for residents, so it wasn't just packed with residential units without any amenity, and you were able to accommodate parking as well.
If you take a look or a walk around our community, probably 3/4 of the streets, and you look at the frontage of some of the lots that exist, they are quite narrow on many of our streets in the community. So in terms of what's already been built out and what's there and the character, when we talk about the character of the community, I don't think it's going to be a significant change in terms of what we're already seeing. It's just going to unlock the door to a little bit further development inside our urban area, where, as Kelly alluded to, our infrastructure's in place, our services are there. We're not building out new roads and new pieces of infrastructure for some of these things. Certainly, there's an opportunity for that. But a large part of this project is trying to maximize and see some incremental growth in our community.
Yeah, I think this resolves one of the issues we have, like we tried to do for minor variances, to allow 4-plex on a residential lot. I think that was, in terms of lot coverage, you still fit it on there. It wasn't reasonable development, but at least for 60 foot piece of land and everything. So see, 4-plex now you need 29 units, which to me is a reasonable number to have, because I think we should be careful now with these go through. We should be careful not to force through too many minor variances, put things where they don't belong. Now, at least it allows us to put the top structures on the top side of the block. Yeah, I think most of the numbers seem to make sense, and they're consistent with other jurisdictions as well.
Absolutely. I think looking at the multi-res zone particularly, correct me if I'm wrong, that's where we've seen some significant changes to some of the numbers. And there is a sample multi-res sheet that you do have where you can see some of the examples. Looking at, some of the examples of the 4-plexes that we've seen built in our community or to be built on site plans, we kind of have an idea of what can work, where parking can go, where parking can't go. And I think some of these numbers are probably fit reality, I guess, a little bit more efficiently.
And it's spelled out with it's a triplex, a 4-plex, an apartment building. I think makes it a little more defined as well, where those are discussions that we've had with potential builders. It's like, what are you calling it?
The one change there is, I think in the low-rise apartment building, we've got a 250 square meters per dwelling unit. That's a change from how we were kind of attacking that before, I believe. I don't know if you want to speak to that.
Yes, so through the chair, originally your original zoning had a minimum lot area of 5,000 square meters. So what we did was this will allow for smaller lots to have multi-residential development on it, including the low-rise apartment. And we believe that the 250 square meters per dwelling unit would be able to accommodate a appropriate amount of parking for that. So if you were to subdivide 5,000 by 250, that's a 20-unit apartment building. So you could, it's what am I? So what I'm trying to say is that you can have this, the sixplex, the 7, 8, 9, 10 with this style of development or lot area, minimum lot area, as opposed to having a minimum lot area, just a kind of blanket 5,000 square meters, and then you are trying to fit something into that. So this I think fits better. So you'll be able to develop more lots that are smaller than the 5,000 square meters and still do multi-res.
Anyone else? Peter, Roxanne? Jack, question?
Maybe a question that you probably can answer this because every lot's different, but what's the average square meters of a lot in Tweed?
You guys wouldn't know that either, no?
That answer.
Yeah, it
No.
wouldn't be 1,000 meters. Square meters.
No, I don't have the answer to that. I don't know if is there a way the GIS team, based on the the rough outlines of lots, is there like a mechanism to run a tool like that to even capture something? It is a good question to, yeah.
You're looking just at the village,
So I realize that,
general of
yeah.
the municipality.
Well, through the chair, are you looking at every lot? Because there's different uses on every lot, and so you'd have to then subtract what lots you're looking at specifically. So are you looking at those? I think you might be able to do it with, if you were to look at it as zoning context, so those are within the R1 zone. You could probably put that layer over the GIS and then calculate an average lot area based on that. But I don't think it would be too helpful just to have a average lot area for the entire municipality within the urban secondary plan area because of the multiple uses that are already present. So I think that we could potentially do that based on the zone classification. But I'm not the IT guy, so I'm not, I'd have to ask.
Yeah, I'm wondering if some of that area data could be exported based on a zone to a spreadsheet, and then something could be done from there, perhaps. We can look into that. Yeah.
Jim, did you have anything further?
No, just noted that the big changes are today on the triplex and fourplex. We reduced lot area minimum from 2,250 for triplex down to 750, and for fourplex from 3,000 and 1,000. But even with a fourplex going without grading, it still allows you to build each fourplex to 1,200 square feet. So seems like reasonable. All of them are same reasons.
Lucas, anything further? You want to summarize your?
No, I don't think there's anything else. I just want to again thank Jason and Gib for their support of this project and all the projects that we've been working on since I became zoning administrator, and even before that, a great help, great support, and large reason why we're here discussing these things today. So thank you guys.
So then we would state in the minutes that the president, on behalf, following up the presentation, that this committee would recommend support and endorsation of council.
Yeah, so not necessarily looking.
Motion or just.
It depends on what the committee's comfortable with. My kind of my thoughts today was to have that initial discussion and see where we're at. But if the committee is comfortable with everything in front of them, they certainly can, or we can take another month to look at it and make a recommendation to council. But it's up to you.
You want more time to look through the documents for the committee members? You're comfortable going forward, presenting motion to council? What's your preference?
I don't have a problem.
What's that, you're okay with it?
I think so. Give an opportunity.
I think so. Okay, so we'll put a motion forward that the planning committee recommends that council proceeds with acceptance of the proposed bylaw, the proposals to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw number 2012-30. Mover, Roxanne, seconded by Jim. All those in favor? Go forward to council. Thanks. This will be exciting, I think. for potential builders too. I think there have been people waiting in the wings to see what they could do. Okay. So staff updates, Lucas, Lori, anything? So next meeting would be
Just-
March 25th, right? Is that
Uh,
the date?
Not sure, is it March 25th? Last Friday of March?
I think it
28th probably. March and
28th.
February line up, don't they, on the calendar, I
I
believe?
don't know.
Yeah, March 28th.
28th, okay, so it'd be, and then, what were we talking about? We were gonna.
I don't think I have any major staff updates at this time, other than we will be meeting again in March. We do have some files. Spring is coming, so we're back, basically, is my staff update. Yeah.
Lori, anything? Anything you'd like put on the agenda in future, Jim? Discussions, Jack?
Good.
Or Karen, Peter? Motion to adjourn? Gary? Oh, sorry, no, Roxanne and Jim.